Okay, so first things first, I just uploaded, and I'll put links to it. Okay, that's fine. Okay, what am I doing? I'm putting links to the two things that I promised you last time. One, that packet of maps, remember? Ugly, but that's all right for now. Seriously? 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 That's crap. Well, okay, I'll fix that later. Some of you said you wanted it, and that's what I said. Okay, first of all, you should have gotten in your emails an invitation to go to the Asian Civilizations Museum, which has an exhibit from the Wei River, from Xi'an, of Tang Dynasty treasures that were only dug up in the last 50 or 75 years. How many of you have never been to the Asian Civilizations Museum anyway? You're missing the coolest museum in the world. Where is it? Dhoby Ghaut, Clark Quay. So it's a very fine colonial building, historical, gorgeous. It's got a permanent exhibition of Chinese history that's really cool. You'll be able to go there now and go, oh. By the end of the course, you'll be able to go, oh, wow, like I get all of this. So if you want to go, no extra credit. This is for people, not grade prostitutes. Then, just come on. All you got to do is say yes, attending. Afterwards, we'll go have coffee at the Coffee Bean on Marina Bay, and it's always pleasant when these things happen. It's a nice way to get to know each other and all sort of thing. You find people there that you wish you could find at school. It's a way to sort of self-select the type of student that you wish you could find so easily. Your test is, today is Tuesday. Your test is, no, today's Monday. Your test is Friday. I will not be here Wednesday. That leaves me with a dilemma and a conflict, because tomorrow I am here, and that's the first day of the two-day lesson, right? So with A Day, they have me. You guys don't have me on the same lesson. So how am I going to deal with that? I believe it's going to work like this. We probably won't even get to start the movie today, so you will simply finish the movie at home. In class, you will have two options, just like happened with both classes so far today. We did not watch the movies today. There was so much to talk about within what you watched at home. So notice both B classes so far are watching anywhere from 40 to 45 minutes, and then in class Wednesday, they can either write the forum post that is due for you guys next class, right? Or start reading / annotating and preparing for a seminar that will happen when I get back the week after, because Friday you have your test, all right? Okay? Let me hand out the Confucius packet right now. Please put your name on this as soon as you get it, so that you, if you leave it, I know whose it is, and I can email you saying, hey, knucklehead, you left it. It's on the table in my classroom. Shut up, Clements. Just be quiet. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just take one and pass it down. 1, 2, 3. You're welcome. 1, 2, 2. Put your name on. How many of you have not written the forum? I gave you an early chance, so if you haven't, it's fine because it's not due yet. All right, so if you haven't, so, and if you have and you didn't follow directions, I'm already marking those. Let me hide this now. And let me, so there it is. There's the forum under today's lesson. What does that thing say? Homework, watch movie, write forum post. Again, the forum post, I'll change that. You can do it in class next time. A-Day is far ahead of you guys, strangely. I'm not going to say anything other than, what am I grading for? I am saying, is there what I call a kitchen sink or passing glance opening? Why? Because, as I explain here, it will really help you look good for your SAT marker, for your AP markers, anything. When you're writing an essay about, and you have a limited amount of time, how can you make yourself good? Simply by in one sentence saying, if time permitted, I would include such topics as A, B, C, D, and E, comma, 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 comma. But time not being permitted, all I have time to deal with are the most significant things, which are F, G, and H, period. What did you just show your reader? Oh, hell, I know so much more than you're going to read about here, right? And your reader's going to notice it because you specify all of these things that are not going to be gone into. That shows that you have a lot of knowledge. Notice you have to actually specify A, B, C, D, E, F. When discussing the interesting developments of the Shang and the Zhou, there are a million ways to do it, but notice the effect of pictographic writing on the Chinese civilization, the Zhou replacement of Shang theism with a naturalistic atheism, the shining vision of humane government and the sage kings of the Shu Jing, the epic stories of last bad kings, blah, blah, blah. All of these and more are examples of how ancient Chinese history from the Shang to the Zhou is endlessly fascinating. I just showed you that I know about all this stuff, and I could go on, but I can't because of time. What is most fascinating to me, though, are these three things. I just made that up. I don't know if those are the most fascinating to me or not, right? You get me? And so I want you to show me that you understand this opening because I'm trying to teach you how to write and impress, all right? Yes? The whole Shangzhou thing, because what is your, what ideas most interest you in the course so far? That is the question, the course so far, right? Again, you are now at the stage, I have developed your understanding enough, you have done enough thinking and talking and reading and writing, and you've been really interesting to have a really good foundation now moving forward. So now it's time for you to start writing. And you will enjoy this the farther and further it goes because this stuff never goes away throughout the entire history. There's more stuff there, the links, pay attention, the voice. This is a 3-paragraph intro plus 3 paragraphs, but don't think of it as an essay that you have to endlessly revise, formal speech, MLA, in-text citations. No, it's not. It's a journal, all right? So you can relax about all sort of things, but if you don't capitalize China, if you just don't spell check, if you write like a slob, I will give you a slob's grade, all right? Because you're college bound, and when you're writing publicly, you should check to make sure that you don't look like a slob, right? It's not Facebook, all right? Next, because your future requires the ability to think of images and to put images on things that you write, and not just put them there, but put them there well. What websites do you guys read that have an article, but above it, it has a picture? Can you think of a famous website, huh? New York Times. Can you think of one that other students read who aren't as sophisticated? Huh? No, Wikipedia doesn't do that. Oh, hell and damnation. Really? Do I have to do this? I don't know. Let's see. Let's just do, let's see, Connor Friedersdorf. What is that? Connor Friedersdorf. Okay, that's a pretty good one, actually. That works. A very recent, fairly viral. So notice, title. Look at the picture. A nice large size, well chosen, centered, blah, blah, blah. That's all I'm asking for. The little video that you saw on the assignment, it tells you how in Moodle to insert an image and format it. All right, so watch that little thing. I'm not going to waste the time here. Last two things about it. I do, as to repeat, I do expect you to realize that the title is the first thing that your reader sees, and it makes you either somebody that the reader wants to read or goes, oh God, another boring one. So craft that title, Seduce Me. I'm your reader. Make me want to click it, not go, oh God, I have to read this because it's my job. Vlog option. Any of you interested in doing audio where you talk? You could even do, for example, a Google Hangout, which is a very simple thing. Up to 6 people, I think, can do a Google Hangout. And all you do is set it up, go to the tech office, they'll tell you how. It's not hard. And every time that one person talks on that thing, the camera automatically voice activates to film Clement. She's talking. And then Benji Bentley. Then Bentley starts talking, it will go over to Bentley, right? And so then you can save that and embed that, all right? I'm fine either way, as long as you do the same thing. Okay? Yes, okay. Any questions on that? Good. All righty then. So where did you guys start? I forgot. Where did you start the movie? I'm sorry, please speak loudly. I'm deaf, remember? 50? Come on, you son of a... Oh, for crying out bloody loud. No, that's not. It just took it a long time to open. Oh, that's it. That's why I was trying to go down and I couldn't go down. It's almost like you're watching the movie, isn't it? Huh? Whoa! Okay, tell me when we... Okay, did we get to this part? Okay, did we get to that part? Did we talk about this yet? So did we talk the book of the I Ching or I Ching, yeah, which and E means changes. So the book of changes and the hexagrams. We did all that, huh? All right, you guys are doing pretty well compared to some others. Okay. We already talked about this too? Okay. Tell me when we're ready to start talking about new stuff. I know, but 53, this is 59 minutes, man. This? 53, go back. Why is everybody saying yes? Oh, because that's 53. All right, okay. All right, so I'm going to just flip through this, and unless I find something to remark on, I will ask you to ask any questions. Okay, here. Who's the old man? And I believe I've already introduced you to him, have I not? Okay, and he is famous for writing and for being? Father of Taoism, the earliest Taoist writer. When you come back on Wednesday, I will have a packet. That's just Confucianism. I will have a packet on Taoism, too. you will simply annotate those, and hear me, that means annotate. That means write in them, not just highlight sentences. Actually, like, put your thoughts, your fingerprint on it. Notice there are two spellings, T-A-O, ta-ching, again, the old spelling, and the new pinyin spelling, Dao-da-jing. That's Lao Tzu. Did I tell you that, what did the film say was his relationship to Confucius? This is very important. Okay, do you believe that? He wasn't. He wasn't. We don't even know if he exists. He seems to be a legendary character. This book is 88 poems, and they're deep and they're beautiful. And they're really cool, and they really help me live. They really help me live. They really help me be sane and strong. It's amazing. And many other people, too. And they're also just beautiful. The Chinese themselves love this book. When you go to China and you talk about the Tao Te Ching, they're like, oh, it's so pretty. Because it's poetic. It's typically 4 syllables per line, all sorts of stuff. But what we have discovered is that just like the Bible, just like so many books, there are multiple writers over multiple generations, hundreds of years. The books of Moses, there's overwhelming evidence that Moses didn't write the book. Here's a simple example of that. Definitely in the last chapter of the books of Moses, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. In Deuteronomy, it says, when Moses died, Joshua led the Exodus to the Promised Land. Now, could Moses have written that? Obviously not. He was dead. And yet people say, oh, the books of Moses in which Moses writes, when Moses died, this happened. Right? So clearly, right? Tradition says one thing, but close readers see something else. What sort of sense did you get of Taoism by listening to this? First of all, does Confucius think it's stupid? Does Confucius obey it, the advice? Now, Harrison, you wanted to say something. Speak up, please. He said, seem really laid back and relaxed. I'm recording all this. Laid back and relaxed, that was it?
Yeah, that's what I got from it. Because he kept stressing not to do anything.
Thank you. But Confucius, H.K. said, is a man of action. He didn't really agree with it. A man of action who wants to sort of qualify or extend or clarify what H.K. is aiming at. We learn more about Confucius than I'm a man of action. And this is leading up to a key thing that I do want to focus on. Yes?
Well, Confucius, actually Lao Tzu said that the best thing for Confucius to do is to be to not be involved in the whole situation. But Confucius said that it was his duty to do so because he was born in the world of men and he had to help them and he had to do what was right. And he couldn't be like Lao Tzu and just forget everything and have a very kind of indifferent view towards everything. Because of his duty towards his people.
He said, your way is cosmic, your way is transcendent, your way is unfathomable, it's so deep. But my way is different. Notice way, Tao. We both got a Tao. I'm not saying yours is wrong. I'm saying I choose a different one, and mine is the choice of, the Tao of. And he uses the word. Thank you so much for that, Nikita. He uses the word. I'm Lord of my chosen path. The Master's way is magnificent and shapeless. My Tao, however, is within a dream of mankind. I commit myself to the human realm, which means the social realm, which means the political realm, despite the fact that it's all kinds of effed up. Right? And this brings us to our first point of focus, which I don't think I've done with you. Remember our never-ending rule. If I've already said it, tell me. Humanism. Humanism. My Tao is the human Tao. He is a humanist. We've already seen that China has been humanist since the Shu Jing. What are the Sage Kings? They're about human perfectibility. Yao polishes the people with education. This optimism about human ability, human perfectibility, seen in the Shu Jing. So I want to give you a fascinating little preview of what next year finally I will be able to relax, not be a freaking nutcase trying to get through 32 centuries and 38 classes. Because next year it'll be Origins to 1800, East and West, and we'll be able to go into this more deeply and actually read Plato and actually read our own. So, because notice, when we think humanism, we think, oh, the Renaissance, because the Renaissance brought back the Greek humanists and the ages of medieval religiosity when popes ruled and priests ruled and the Inquisition ruled, and you couldn't be a scientist saying, hey, the earth is round. That's actually an urban myth. Or, hey, the earth is not the center of the universe. If you said any of those things, the Inquisition would come to you and say you're disagreeing with the Bible. Let's torture him. Galileo was made to take back what he said about the moon not being a perfect sphere, because he saw shadows and craters on it through the first telescope ever used to look at the skies instead of as a little toy, which the Dutch invented as a little toy. And Galileo was like, I could do something better with that. Wow. Wow, it's not perfect, and the church has been saying it's perfect for 1,000 years. And when he wrote his book, the church didn't like it. And Galileo publicly took back everything that he wrote, thought, saw, because he didn't want to be tortured and killed. He was put under house arrest where he died, and his book wasn't published until after he died. And the Catholic Church had it on its list of banned books until 1990-something. And Galileo wrote it in the 1660s. For 300 years, the Catholic Church was saying that book is banned, don't read that. Until just like 5 years before you were born, did the church say, okay, read Galileo. So when we talk about humanism, we think, oh, the Greeks, they're so great. Well, you know what? Obviously, Confucius and before him the Western Joe were humanistic too. So let's compare Chinese humanism and Greek humanism. Let's talk first about just the dates that they were born. I almost got this right. If you want to put this on your timeline, it's an easy thing for you to do. You have it right there. And I'll look up Confucius, I'll look up Socrates' years. I've forgotten them. $469 to $399. Might do a little Venn diagram, I don't know, whatever. So let's compare and contrast Confucius and Socrates. Confucius died 10 years before Socrates was born. They're almost contemporary. Did Socrates write a book? Right. So he did not write. Or if he did write, we don't have anything that he wrote. Confucius, he did not write. Well, we have nothing that he wrote. Similar, right? So how do we know what Confucius wrote? Because his book, which you have a selection from that I handpicked because these lead us into the sort of the core of Confucianism. The analects, which just means sayings. You hear the word lecture, the root lecture, analect. Those were assembled, collected, compiled by his students, which we weirdly call disciples, which is a very bad thing. His students. Over a couple of generations. It would be interesting to go ahead and throw Jesus in there. It would be anachronistic because Jesus was 500 years later. But did Jesus write anything? No. So how do we know what Jesus said? His disciples, who wrote the Gospels, the earliest one, 40 years after Jesus died. The earliest account of Jesus' life, so-called disciples, the book of Mark, not Matthew, strangely enough. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John in order. Mark is older than Matthew. written 40 years after Jesus died. Just like Confucius and students said, this man has so many brilliant things to say, let's not let them die with him. Let's put them in. Let's record them and pass them down so the tradition doesn't die in the analects. So did Socrates have a kid who followed him around and yeah, so this is the analects, and this is the translation that you're reading from. Plato wrote a series of dialogues. Socrates was always a star. So they would start simply with, one day Socrates was walking in the Agra on the Acropolis, and he came across so-and-so. And what are you doing, so-and-so, he asked. And I'm going to tell you the most fateful encounter that Socrates had. One day he was walking in the Agra, and he saw a man going to the court of justice. And the man was very, very well known for being incredibly, incredibly religious and good. He didn't break any religious laws. He was such a good person. Socrates says, what are you doing today, so-and-so? And so-and-so says, I'm in a hurry. I'm going up to the court because I have to bring a charge of murder against somebody. Socrates goes, against who? He goes, murder? Against who? He said, my father. And Socrates says, what? You are accusing your father of murder? You know what the penalty for that is, don't you? And he said, yes, I do. But religion says that I must turn my father in because my father did murder somebody. Socrates said, well, tell me the story. And he goes, well, my father captured a runaway slave, and he tied him up, and he put him in a ditch, and he went to the next town over to tell the owner about the slave or to report it or whatever, right? And he got caught. He got hung up for whatever reason for so long that when he got back, the slave had frozen overnight, starved to death, whatever. It doesn't matter. The cause of death was due to his father tying him up and leaving him there. And he goes, and so my father is guilty of murder. Socrates is like, wow. Now, I got to pause for a second because Socrates was very, very, very loved by the kids of the elites, the sons of the elites. They didn't have a job to do. They just hung out downtown on Orchard Road at the Agra and the Acropolis, right? Agra means open space. You've heard of the agoraphobia. I'm afraid of open spaces, right? That phobia. So, and so Socrates, ugly as a goat, smelly as a goat, shabby as a goat, didn't wear shoes, wore like shabby old clothes and such, and ugly as all hell. Was followed around by these boys. Why? Because when he ran into somebody who claimed to know something, Socrates was like, I just want to learn. I'm going to give you one more detail about Socrates. Does anybody know about the great Delphic oracle, the oracle of Apollo, and what he said about Socrates? Who can tell us, Jack? Somebody went to the oracle of Apollo up at Delphi. Apollo is the god of truth, amongst other things, and said, who is the wisest man in the world? And the oracle of Apollo, channeling Apollo, said, Socrates. This person's like, wow. And so this person runs back to Athens and goes, Socrates, guess what? He goes, what? He goes, the oracle of Apollo said that you are the wisest man in the world. And Socrates said, wow, really? Famously. And here, write this down. Socrates' response to being told he was the wisest man in the world, he's like, that's ironic because the only thing I know is that I don't know anything. I'm wise, I don't know anything. In other words, he was a skeptic. He knew the difference between knowing and not knowing, knowing and thinking you know. And he knew he didn't know anything. And so the story goes, he said, well, wow, so it's really my duty to live up to that wisest man in the world thing by trying to learn from everybody that I can. And so what he would do is he would go around and he would talk to all of the most powerful men of Athens who had reputations for being elite, including this elite religious guy. And when he said, really, so you think that it's good to have your father put to death over this thing? And he's like, yes. And he's like, well, why? And the guy said, because blah, blah, blah. And notice, Socrates, did he argue with the guy? He just keeps saying why. That's the word Socratic seminar, right? Ask questions. Let the other person answer. Keep asking more questions about the answers until finally he reduces this guy to a contradiction. And the guy realizes that statement A that just came out of his mouth, then Socrates asks a question, and then statement B, his answer to the second question, he's like, oh, hell, I just said night is day. I look like a fool. And this is why all of the sons of these important men love to follow Socrates, because every time he talked to an important man who knows something, he reduced them to absurdity. And the young boys loved it because they were, rebellious young boys, and they loved to see the adults brought down a notch or two. They just thought it was cool and funny. Well, when Socrates brought this guy down a notch or two, this good religious man turned around and reported Socrates to the court of justice and said, I want to charge Socrates with a crime. And they said, what crime? Does anybody know the crime that he charged Socrates with? Corrupting the youth of Athens by doing what? Close. By teaching new gods. He is corrupting our young people by teaching new gods. That's the charge upon which Socrates was brought to trial. If you didn't write that, you're one of those pieces of rotten wood, unless you know it already, of course. The most respected religious good person in Athens accused Socrates of blasphemy, of corrupting the youth, and teaching new gods. Socrates was put on trial. Socrates defended himself in a dialogue called The Apology, Plato's Apology. You can read it in 2 hours. It made me cry the first time I read it. It's incredibly powerful. And at the end, he was charged guilty. He was found guilty by a jury of Athenians. And they said, well, you have two choices. You can face exile, leave Athens and never come back, or you can drink poison. Now, think about that. Why did they offer him both of those things? What do you think the jury hoped he would take? Exile. Because otherwise, if we wanted to kill him, we wouldn't give him an out. And Socrates famously said, give me the poison, because I am an Athenian. I love this city. I have fought in 2 wars for this city. I have tried to teach the youth of this city. I've done nothing but be a good citizen of this city since I was born, and I will not leave this city. I've lived a long life. You think that I should die for seeking truth? Kill me. And he went to prison. A jailer brought hemlock, a poison. The young boys who followed him around went to visit him and sit up with him all night and until dawn when he drank the poison. Plato wrote about that too. Plato was one of these young boys. Plato was a beautiful young man. He was a jock. He was a wrestler, a great wrestler. He had Olympic stuff in him. He was a poet. He was very handsome. The women and men loved him. Oh, that's right. You probably don't know. Athens was, if you were a real man, you were gay. If you were a real man, you were gay. Do you need evidence? Do you need evidence? How many of you have never heard that the Athenians were raging homosexuals? Isn't it funny that you haven't learned that basic thing about ancient Greek? Of ancient Athens. I love how Disney-fied your education is. We have homosexuals to thank for the first democracy because Athens was ragingly homosexual. And they weren't faggots. Straights were faggots. Notice I'm using the vulgar, I'm a real He-Man jock and anybody who's not a He-Man jock is a fag, is gay. A jock who was not gay back then was looked down upon as, quote, a fag by the real men. What's my evidence for this? I'll tell you the story because you guys are ahead of the other classes. Plato wrote another dialogue called the Symposium. It's really fun. I highly recommend it. Symposium means drinking party in Greek originally. And so it was a drinking party. It was a drinking party in which one of the elites invited other elites from Athens to a drinking party to celebrate the Dionysian festival where Greek tragedies were held and comedies once a year for about 2 weeks. Every single night there were 4 plays, 3 tragedies and a comedy and a satyr play. Those of you who've taken Mr. Maybe, I think you know about this stuff. And so it was like you had TV for just the Dionysian festival period, and then after that, no plays at all until the following year, the Festival of Dionysus, in which dramas were played, and you would go to the amphitheater and you'd watch these stage plays, right? You'd watch Sophocles, you would watch Euripides, you would watch Aristophanes, the great comedian, blah, 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 every year. And they would vote, just like the Olympics, who gets the laurel, who wrote the best tragedy this year. That year, you don't have to write this down, that year, I've forgotten his name, it doesn't matter. The winner of the tragic festival, the tragic competition, was invited to the Symposium, and also the winner of the comic festival, Aristophanes, who we do have Greek comedies by. He's hilarious. He wrote Lysistrata, in which women refuse to have sex with their husbands until their husbands declare peace because they're so sick of war, Athens versus whatever city, right? And so they're like, we're cutting you off. You don't get any until you declare peace, right? Hilarious stuff. The men try to storm the women as they're in their fortress, saying, none for you, we got chastity belts on. Suffer, men, suffer. And when the men try to, storm their fortress, the women lift their skirts and fart at them. So cannonades of farting, right? This is Aristophanes. He's hilarious. It's Greek comedy. Those of you who are like, oh, my God. You know what? You're so uneducated. This is basic Greek comedy, right? I'm not making it up. It's classicism. We're so puritanical now, it cracks me up. So Aristophanes is at this Symposium, the guy who wrote stuff like that, right? And at the Symposium, I'm going crazy trying to remember this, the tragic guy's name, but anyway, at the Symposium, the host says, Socrates was there. The host says, I have an idea, let's play a drinking game. They're like, cool, good idea. Let's get drunk, let's play a game. Unlike us, who, yeah, where's the ping pong ball? Let's play, you know. This was a sophisticated drinking game. Here's what we'll do. We'll each stand up and person by person give an impromptu speech on a topic. What topic shall we give a speech on? Oh, great idea, because we love public speaking. Let's give it on love. That's a great idea. We'll give a speech on love. And so one guy stands up, gives a speech. He's a doctor, right? Doctors aren't typically great speakers. The next guy stands up, gives a speech. They get better and better and better. Aristophanes stands up, the guy who, right, the comic. And Aristophanes' speech is this. I'm going to tell you about the origin of romantic love, why a person needs a lover. And he makes all this stuff up, and it's great. He goes, in the beginning, humans were not two sexes, man and woman, and they were not one-headed. They were 3 sexes, and 2-headed, and 4-armed, and 4-legged. And the heads faced outwards, so I could see forward and backward, and the arms faced forward and backward, and the private parts were on the inside, between the 4 legs. There were 3 genders. There was the man-man, there was the man-woman, and there was the woman-woman. These were very powerful people because they were twice as intelligent, twice as powerful because they had 4 arms, twice as fast because they could roll instead of run. They just put out all 4 arms and legs and just rolled, right? And Zeus was scared of them. And so Zeus said, I'm scared of these humans. I'm going to reduce them by half. And literally he did. God of lightning, man, cut them right in half. Suddenly, oh my God, I'm a 1-headed, 2-armed, 2-legged, 1-penis man. Oh my God, what? How weird, and what just happened to me? Because notice my head is actually facing that way, because this is where I was connected. This was my back. Zeus, to make us never forget that he's more powerful, to remind us of our shameful, shameful fall from our original powerful four-legged, four-armed, two-headed, and two-genitaled shape, twisted the heads around. So when we look down now, we see the navel, which is where he grabbed the back and he just tied it up. He cut it off, right? So that's the navel and all sort of thing, right? And he also, by doing this, now we look down and we see our private parts. He's shaming us through all this. Now, which of the three genders was the superior gender, according to Aristophanes in this thing? The man-man. And when Zeus split the man-man, what he did was make men who came from the original man-man gender seek their other half, because they know they're incomplete. And so the most powerful, superior man we know today is the homosexual man who is looking for a male lover. The next most powerful is a heterosexual man looking for a woman. The least powerful is a woman looking for her other half, the other woman. The ancient Greeks, right? They were not the most pro-feminist civilization in the world. You know, they made women stay at home and locked them up. They were breeders for sons. In any case, that's my evidence. The ancient Greeks were, and it just goes on and on. The Symposium. His is funniest. His story is funniest. Socrates stands up and gives a very philosophical one. Socrates drinks everybody under the table. Everybody else is passed out drunk, but Socrates, and the story closes with him standing watching the sunrise the next day, despite the fact that he drank as much as everybody else. He's stone sober, watching the sunrise, standing in place for an hour or so because he had a philosophical realization. Blah, blah, blah. It's a cool book. And Plato, when he saw Socrates die, he stopped being that sought-after young man who all the older men were pursuing. He stopped wrestling. He stopped writing poetry. His poetry was gorgeous, romantic as all hell. We have fragments of it. One poem is about a kiss in which his soul leapt from his lips to the lips of the person he kissed and went into that person, right? And that's just a gorgeous poem. But that's young Plato. He's your age. But when he saw Socrates poisoned, he was traumatized, and he thought there was something very wrong with the elites of Athens. And so he turned his back on them and on the future his father wanted him to have and became a philosopher instead, and he wrote all these books. Which leads me to a claim and a thesis that you can extend, challenge, or qualify, but this is something that I believe so strongly, and again, it's my claim. I'm not telling you it's true. I'm telling you to think about it and challenge me if you don't think it's true. Who was it that killed Socrates? Huh? Which one? Which one brought the charge against him? The good person, the religious person. Thus my claim. In any generation, in any age, the good people are the most dangerous people. Good people are dangerous. The religious good people are the dangerous people. They kill the people who think. Socrates was accused by the religious people of being a corrupting, poisoning influence for simply asking questions. Good people are dangerous. Do we have any other people in history who were killed by the good people for asking questions or criticizing what the good people believed? You can't think of one? How about Jesus? How about Jesus? He was a Jew. What did he say to his rabbis? What did he say when he went into the temple? The stuff going in here is wrong. And he raised hell, turning over the tables of the money chambers, saying, not in my Father's house, you've turned this place into a place of profit. You're all corrupt. What did he say about the law of Moses? I've come to change the law. It's not hate, it's love. It's not anger, it's love. It's not violence and threats, it's love. Jesus was killed by the good religious people of his day because when Pilate wanted to release Jesus, it was the rabbis, the priests, the good religious authorities of Jesus' generation who said, no, Don't crucify the thief, crucify Jesus. Was it Pilate or Herod? It doesn't matter. The Roman governor. Pilate, yeah. And he was like, all right, whatever. I wash my hands of this. Crucify him. Martin Luther, when he started criticizing his religion in the Reformation, what did the good people do? They tried to kill him. On and on and on. Good people are dangerous. But notice, Socrates, why did they call him blasphemous? Because when that religious guy was talking about how Zeus, he was citing Zeus. Well, the all-powerful Zeus. We know that he said this or that. And Socrates goes, wait a minute, but Zeus, so you're saying that because Zeus said something that makes it good? He's like, yes, that's what I'm saying. Zeus is God. And Socrates famously went, what did Zeus do to, let's see, give me one. Who knows a myth where Zeus raped somebody? I don't know. Zeus has raped so many women. He raped Hercules? Hercules' mother. Yeah, and he's always disguising himself as Europa, the bull. He disguises himself as a bull or something like that, and Io and Europa, he disguises himself as a bull, and then he mounts this woman. Another time, who gives birth to them? Her. On and on and on. You check your, Google Zeus rape, and you'll get a million different hits. And Socrates was not unaware of that, and he was like, really? Socrates is good? He's like, yeah. He's like, why? I mean, so is it good to rape? And he's like, no. Well, isn't it true that Socrates was a serial rapist? I'm sorry, Zeus. That Zeus was a serial rapist? And at this point, all the young boys behind him are just cracking up because here's this guy going, yes, Zeus, of course what Zeus says is good. He's God, he's good. So rape's good? No, why would you say rape is good? Everybody knows rape's not good. Well, because the God you just said is so good raped women constantly. He raped A, B, C, D. And the guy goes, and all the kids behind him are like, no, or whatever stupid crap you guys do. They weren't sticking their tongues out and going, but like you do. Some of you, bless your hearts and curse your parents for letting you become what you become. The kids behind him are like, busting. The guy's like, excuse me, Socrates, I don't have time for this anymore. The court's about to close, and he just runs away. Right? He lived to a ripe old age. Unlike Jesus, he didn't die at 34. Unlike Socrates, he didn't die Socrates was pretty old by the time this happened. That's why I was like, go ahead. But Confucius, nobody tried to kill him for criticizing tradition. Why was it so dangerous to criticize tradition in the West? What's the difference between the Greeks, the Hebrews, the Jews, because Jesus was a Jew, he wasn't a Christian, and the Chinese? Exactly. Notice, nobody said the Duke of Joe is God, so you can disagree with the Duke of Joe. It's a human-authored piece of authority. In all of these, Homer is writing about Zeus. The Hebrews are having revealed revelations from God. And so it's much more dangerous to criticize things that are claimed to have divine origin. So the humanism that we see, Socrates, humans can come up with better definitions of the good, the true, and the beautiful than tradition. The birth of humanism over here. Humanism over here, again, we see it in the Shu Jing already. It's a very humanistic thing. Plato died. I'm sorry. So Plato wrote all that stuff. Later, Plato is Socrates. He's still the star of it. Plato's a great writer. He's gorgeous. I quit school for a year. I lived in a VW bus on the Malibu coast in L.A., and I parked on the beach and slept there every night so I wouldn't have to work 5 nights a week to pay rent, so that I would only have to work 1 night a week to just pay for gas and food, so that I could read the complete works of Plato for a year. And I'd wake up every morning in my VW van, and I'd open the side door, and I would step out onto Malibu Beach, and there was the Pacific Ocean, and there were movie stars' houses north and south of me, and I'm just sleeping in a car on the side of the road, voluntarily homeless, so I could read Plato's complete works for a year, and then go back to school when I was finished, which I did. He's gorgeous. Read Plato. He's really, really beautiful to read. But later on, his stuff just uses Socrates as for Plato's own philosophy. It's not really Socrates anymore. Anyway, Plato had a student. His student's name was Aristotle. Aristotle was the last great Platonic or Platonist Greek philosopher. And Aristotle, when Plato died and Aristotle started developing his own school, at a certain point he said, Athens is scary. I fear Athens is going to sin against philosophy a second time. What did he mean by that? Athens is going to sin against philosophy a second time. Kill another philosopher. I'm scared of the good people. And so he left before they could kill him. And he started wandering around. Who does he sound like now? Confucius. He started wandering around looking for a king who would let him tutor his son to create Plato's ideal political system, which is run by, who knows? Plato's politics, the republic. Who rules the republic in Plato's republic? Philosopher kings. I want to create a philosopher king. So let me find a king who will let me tutor his son so that I can make this son a philosopher king, a wise king, a sage king. Look at Greece and China. Look at Confucius and Aristotle. Aristotle he did find a man who said, yes, Aristotle, you're famous for being smart. Teach my son. That man's name was Philip of Macedon. Philip of Macedon's son was Alexander of Macedon, who went on to conquer all of Greece and become Alexander the Great. And Aristotle was like, hell and damnation. I told the kid not to be aggressive, violent, and to make people suffer. Bloody elites, they can't learn. They just want to get richer and richer. Confucius' students were not great philosophers. His son was said to have taught Mencius. That's our English name for the guy. Mengzi. It's Mengzi is his Chinese name. And then a couple of generations, Xunzi, much like Aristotle, the most like advanced and philosophical of the three. I love this guy. So anyway, so both want philosopher kings. Both are humanists. It's much more dangerous to be a humanist in the West than it is in the East. It's still somewhat true today. And I think that's why you were never taught that the ancient Greeks were gay. Because teachers are afraid to teach you because your parents might be good people. Who, when they find out that you're actually learning history instead of just the parts that like agree with what good people think, might come and say, kill that teacher. Oh, we can't kill people anymore, but fire him. Right? This is what teachers go through. Right? So my dream is with the dream of mankind. Confucius stays with humanism, not Taoism. Shall we have a cookie break? Open one. Open one.